Am I the asshole for charging my watch at my husband's restaurant? My husband basically inherited a restaurant from a family friend. The restaurant has been running for almost 2 decades, but the original owners, friends of his parents with no children, handed it down to him around 6 years ago. Not long after that was the pandemic, so he learned to run a tight ship. We got married almost 3 years ago, and I took a manager position there since I come from a service background. Like I said, he runs a tight ship, but he's a very fair person and is very loved by the staff. Our daughter is old enough to be in daycare now, so I've been taking on the morning opening shifts. But I still put her to bed myself and care for her most of the afternoon when I get home, usually around 5. Between dinner, chores, and my daughter, I forget to charge my smartwatch often. He depends on me to have this smart watch on during business hours since we don't allow phones on the floor, and I'm expected to be an example of that. I usually charge that watch early in the mornings. Lately the bills for the restaurant have been getting crazy. He's been making some severe but reasonable cuts that have been annoying the staff. His newest thing is staff is not allowed to charge any devices at the restaurant. I pushed back and said that was crazy and have been allowing it while I'm on shift. We have a lot of parents here who need to get updates on kids, and younger hosts who need to talk to parents, etc. He's been super upset and saying I've been setting a bad example by keeping 20 devices on the charger. I have headphones, a phone, and a watch. I only ever charge the watch, and this is before staff even gets here. I told him my stance, and it devolved to a weeks-long fight, during which whenever he gets home, he'll take my devices and plug them in himself. Am I the asshole for resisting? Charging a phone should only cost you about 1.5 cents, and that's in the country with the highest energy costs in the world. Your husband is the asshole, and demanding people not charge their phones to save money is a weird power trip. And if he thinks the minuscule amount of energy it takes to charge a watch or phone is going to make or break the restaurant, then it's doing a lot worse than he's letting on. Not the asshole. Your husband is soon going to find himself in a bind for staff. This kind of petty, tight-fisted behavior is toxic for morale, and he needs to think really hard about what he's doing. Otherwise, he's going to have a business with no one to work at it. That is dumb and killing morale. There are other cuts to make. He should bring a list to the employees and let them pick the cut. Make sure he can live with the choices. According to this discussion, it cost about 50 cents to charge an iPhone a decade ago. So adding in inflation and more gadgety phones, let's assume $5 per employee per year. Hell, let's go crazy and say $10 per employee for a year. If he can't foot that, he's got big problems, and charging of smartphones and apps will be a distant concern soon. Not the asshole, and this is going to be a death spiral for his/your restaurant if you're not already there. If he's this much of a jerk with his wife who is messing up because she's busy taking care of his kids, I can only imagine he's a massive prick to his staff. And while I've never met a restaurant owner who isn't somewhat insufferable, there has to be a line. That doesn't fly anymore post-COVID, and your staff will walk at the earliest convenience. AITA F49, telling a stranger, M50+, to stop trying to bully me and the passenger next to me? Sitting in BC on a flight to YYZ from YVR. Overhead bin space is allocated above our seats and a little tricky. Had to finesse my carry-on flat, not sideways, lower height bins. And my seatmate looked up from her laptop and laughed with me as I took a moment to figure it out and said she had the same issue. It was sorted. I closed the full bin and settled in for our flight. A man and a woman come rushing into the flight just after last call, and he's huffing and complaining under his breath. He has 2X carry-ons and a huge backpack and starts opening bins left and right and tries to stuff his bags wherever he can. Then he opens ours and yells at us and says we did it wrong and that obviously we don't know a thing about loading bags, and pulls out our luggage, puts his in and tries to stuff our bags sideways and starts swearing as obviously the bins won't close. I get up and tell him not to remove our bags and put them back. And he glares at me and again tries to tell me I'm wrong and keeps banging the bin on my luggage. Finally, I look at him and tell him to stop trying to mansplain how to do something we had figured out before he came on board and decided to play a game of bag Tetris. I was firm and annoyed. And then the flight attendant came and told this man to leave our bags and sit down. Then she took his bags away, gate check, put ours back, and that was that. His wife looked embarrassed, apologized, and said her husband had a bad day. And after I sat down, I felt bad about raising my voice. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. As women, We need to stop second-guessing ourselves or feeling bad about using our voices to call out a bully. Bullies, particularly the mansplaining ones, continue to bully only because they can almost always count on women who have been trained to be polite, just sitting there meekly and quietly in response. Not the asshole. You're allowed to be upset with someone who's touching your stuff and yelling at you. If he wanted to be treated nicely, he could have offered that grace to other people in the first place. There's people like this everywhere arrive late, cause chaos, huffing and puffing, aggressive, full of their own self-importance, behaving as though they own the place. They need to be put back in their place. Well done for standing your ground. BTW loving place, bait titris. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, not even close. This is exactly how this was supposed to happen. He boarded last, his bags didn't fit, and they got gate checked. End of story. He's hoping you won't say anything, and your bags somehow were the problem, not his. And your bags went to cargo. Not the asshole. Not even remotely. You do not touch other people's shit on a plane. Good for you. Handled it like a lady. Did you really tell him not to mansplain? I imagine that got a good laugh. I'm so tired of these big old bullying men and women behaving badly in public, and everyone just sitting there not doing anything about it. Or worse, filming it on their stupid phones. Am I the asshole for not holding a baby? Family from all over came to visit for the holidays. My partner's brother-in-law asked me if I wanted to hold his baby. I said no. He then asked if I would be willing to hold the baby. I said that I am not willing. Then he asked if I would hold the baby so he could unload the dishwasher. I gestured to the baby's uncle, my partner, who took the baby. People told me that was rude, but I did not want to hold the baby. I was in the middle of doing something for work. I'm not a free babysitter just because I'm a woman. If he needed help, he should have asked for it. The baby is also old enough to just be left to run around too. No one needed to hold them. Not the asshole. He was asking you these questions because of your gender. He assumes all women have a desire to hold a baby. The fact that it didn't even seem to occur to him to ask your male partner confirms this. This type of gendered expectation is gross. Not the asshole. What's rude is not respecting a no the first time. You didn't want to hold his kid. Why couldn't he just accept your response? Do you want to hold my kid? No. Will you hold my kid? No. Will you hold my kid because I need to unload the dishwasher? No. Some people really take it personally when people, but especially women, aren't tripping over their feet to oh and ah over their kid. So, he's either but hurt at your indifference, or he thinks that you should want to hold a child because you are a woman. Either was he's an asshole. Not the asshole. Why do parents think everyone is so enamored of children that they have to pay attention to, hold, cuddle, and babysit them? Not the asshole. It's his baby, and he can hold them. If the baby is old enough to walk, then holding them 24/7 is bad for them anyway. Not the asshole. It's crappy that there's this societal notion that as women, we are supposed to love having babies passed off to us, and it's assumed we will be babysitters. You have every right, free of guilt, to refuse any demands to hold, nurse, or babysit babies. Just say no. I wouldn't hold someone else's kid either. I'm terrible with children. My kids can attest. Not the asshole. He is though for keeping pushing you to hold the baby. It doesn't matter that you were in the middle of something for work. You said no. Am I the asshole? Neighborhood kids keep asking to borrow things. I live in a mixed middle-class area, and a few streets over is lower income. The kids from that neighborhood will often come to my neighborhood and ask to do different jobs for cash. I usually find something for them to do. Recently, a new older kid, 14, 15, has been coming over. It started with asking my husband for a job, and he was told to wash our cars. Hubby lent the kid our car washing stuff and paid him. No biggie. The next day, the teen came back and asked if he could borrow our car washing things to get jobs at other people's houses. My husband declined since we get expensive products, and we don't lend anything out. The kid started coming by our home daily asking for work, and my husband had to turn him down each time because we're not made of money. I felt bad for the kid and got him the car washing kit they sell at the store with everything in it. Who doesn't love an entrepreneur? My husband gave it to the teen the following day, along with an extra $20, and told him to buy more products with the money when those ran out. Flash forward to this week. The teen showed up with his 2 younger siblings asking the same thing as before. Can they borrow our car washing things? I turned to the oldest boy and asked what happened to the kit I got him. He was clearly embarrassed and said he knew where the bucket was but he lost all the other stuff. Using it all is one thing, but not taking care of a small gift is disrespectful. I told him, and the others I had nothing else to give, and closed the door. I've told my husband to turn them away from now on. Am I the asshole? Someone stole/strong-armed it from him to wash cars themselves. That's how that works. You've been more than generous. He was clearly embarrassed and said he knew where the bucket was, but he lost all the other stuff. Using it all is one thing, but not taking care of a small gift is disrespectful. You consider maybe his parents took it and sold it. If the kid is so desperate for money, his parents are likely the reason for it. Maybe try helping the kid a different way. Not the asshole part of working is being responsible for your work tools. The kid learned that lesson. Not the asshole. It's not your responsibility to be the financial backer for their odd jobs. His parents probably sold the kit.